like something like that. Actually, no, too much. My head is sensitive. Welcome. Welcome to Embodied Spirituality, where I am your co-host, Ashante Marie, with the most high, the divine source energy. You know, roll with what you want to roll with. Okay. You know, I felt really compelled to make this video today, and I had gotten. I didn't actually know if I was gonna make a video, but something in me was just like, no, there's gonna be a video today. Yeah, for sure. There's gonna be a video today. And then I was like, taking care of other things like cleaning up or whatever, stretching, a little bit here and there. Okay. And just like a little bit here and there. But like the cleaning, I was doing that. And then I was just like, okay, well, there's other things I need to do. I need to cook some things. I need to prep for some kale chips. I'm gonna make some kale chips. Haven't made me any in a long time, and they're like my favorite. So, which brings me into the title a little bit, or at least something I can revisit in the title. No, it brings me to the title. That's what I want. It's from the song. I guess it's called Money. That's what I want. 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 So not that that's really like the theme of big like money. That's what I want. But I do like green things. And towards the end of the song, he says something about them lean greens. And I say, yes. So I'm into like getting these kale chips in for real. I have like two different bundles from different places. So I'm excited about it. But that's also like a thing. I gotta be like willing to sit, do all the prep, cut it, dry it, massage it, whatever. But once it's done, it'd be the best. They go so fast. They go so fast. So yeah. Why did I pick that title? Because God told me to. Duh. Duh. Have you been here before? Is this your first time? This is your first time, welcome. If you've been here before, then you get it. You get it. um, yeah. So, like I said, I was getting tired, though, for real. And I was like, there's other things I really need to do and take care of. I'm sorry, I may be not the nicest to Nats on this screen if they decide they want to be too much in my face today. Because I have drawn a line 333. Good message. 333 on the clock when I was about to say that. I have a boundary with certain things. Like I am big on, respecting the universe, respecting God's creatures, and all that stuff. But certain things, it's like, okay, my space, my house, my apartment, whatever I'm gonna be in, wherever my hotel room, even, okay, wherever I'm staying, moment, like I have boundaries. There's certain things that you can't be in my space. Otherwise, then I have license to remove you in the best way that I see fit. And with gnats, you can't like usher them out, bro. You just gotta kill them. And whether it be in like attracting them to some solution of some sort, or freaking just catching them when you need to catch them. You gotta catch them all, Pokemon, okay? Freaking gnats, okay? Gotta catch them all, get them out the way. So yeah, and today is one of those days where it's like, all right, y'all been here. I didn't got rid of all the stuff that y'all was attracted to, or the most part. I still always am gonna have like some fruit in the house. Right now, I got cantaloupe sitting next to me, so that's probably why it was coming over here in the first place. But it is covered, so Um, yeah, being covered. That's a whole message in itself too, right? Protection. But yeah, so anyways, I got sidetracked by these gnats. What was I saying at first? I need to bring my little note thing over here because I'm like, what am I supposed to be talking about? Anyways, I was tired. I was like, I want to make the video, but I don't. But I feel like this is something I want to talk about, and not just this is something I want to talk about. More so, like spirit is like, you want to do a video, make a video, and here are some topics. Do you know what I mean? Or this is what's coming up for you, or this is what seems pertinent, and this is what feels like needs to come through. So 5:55 on the clock. So the subtitle, right, to That's What I Want is Gifts and Grace. And I named it that, Gifts and Grace. Also, too, maybe a little ambiguous, but one, no, like honoring your gifts, your natural gifts, your God given gifts, um, and also receiving gifts, being in a space of receiving. And then grace, giving yourself grace, giving other people grace, and like a level of forgiveness. So we're gonna get into all of that. If you're here, I'm so grateful that you're here. Honestly, welcome. Okay. But if you are clicking on this after I'm doing the live, you obviously know how long this is. So, pull up a chair or, pop me into your earbuds or whatever, get a snack, if you want to go for a walk or whatever, and I'm your little podcast for the moment, like so be it. And thank you. I appreciate you choosing me. um but yeah, we're probably gonna be here for a hot second. I'm only 7 minutes in, so I don't actually know how long I'm gonna be sitting here. But you, at this point, probably know more than me when it comes to the length of this video. But Spirit always be having me in this long form lately, so we just rocking with the flow. Even earlier today, I was like, instead of like saying like, oh, I want to make a video or oh, I want to post or oh, I want to go live, like what was coming up was like, oh, I want to make. I was like, oh, I want to make my movie today. Like I want to make my movie today, and I was just like, why is it coming up? And I don't even know if it was saying like that, but I was using the word movie to reference this video, and I kept laughing at myself because I was like, it'd be the length of a movie, so it don't be wrong. I just hope it has like enough entertaining moments of like a movie to where you guys are resonating with the message. So, anyways, getting into this, right? I do energy work. This is energy medicine, 8:08 on the clock. This is energy medicine, okay? This is Reiki, right? I've already pulled the Reiki energy in here. I only work with the Most High. And if you're here and you're receiving this message, that means you are receiving Reiki from the Most High. This is about um, channeling God's love. Period. Period. Nothing else. Channeling God's love, and that can show up and look different in different ways for different people at different times, or sound different ways. So um, I pray that you guys are open. Anyways, getting into this, I did need to say my prayer that I wrote recently, but I'm gonna switch. I probably shouldn't do that because I felt like the last time I did that, you guys, the YouTube people were mad at me. But let's see. I have to click over to get to my prayer because my phone is on the charger. Ancestors, guides, and angels, for the greatest good of all involved, higher self and source. Thank you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the air and the breath that fills my lungs. I am so grateful. Thank you for the opportunity to be before the tribe, as well as those looking for a tribe, and the gift of being able to deliver messages to the community, as well as myself. I pray that the Most High uses me as a conduit to spread the good word, and the good word is love. I pray that I share only what is needed and necessary, and that the viewers receive what is meant for them, leave the things that don't resonate, and that they have the wisdom to know the difference. In this space, this special part of the universe, we are protected. In this space, we remember our wholeness. In this space, we share love with one another, healthily and wholeheartedly. In this space, we find a sense of peace. And so it is. Ashe. I really like this prayer, guys. I'm so excited that I wrote it. Not even gonna lie, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It was really God, helping me write out what I really feel, you know, and making sure that I bless the people. Uh, feels like there's a level of audacity on me, and it's uncomfortable. Actually, I'm not somebody who is like super audacious in nature. I think people can maybe make that assumption sometimes, but like to be as like I know I'm bringing a message feels so audacious. Like I'm like, oh, humility, humility. But I'm like, what else would I be here for? In all honesty, God, what else would I be here for? Okay, so um, the first message I wanted to get into was dispelling false narratives, right? And the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because, I feel like in this, forever journey of, looking into myself, but then also the long journey of doing like healing work over the years, there's been a lot of stuff I feel like I've had to work through, that I've had to dispel, that I've had to like, yeah, move out of the way because it created these blockages that weren't even mine, that don't resonate, that didn't feel good, that was not about that life. Like it wasn't doing nothing for me. And like I just feel like I have so much to say and I want to say everything so fast and so quick. But I'm also trying to like breathe and make sure I get the message. Um, um, and maybe I'm a little nervous too today for whatever reason. It's weird. I'm like, this interview is so different today. It's so different today. Um, but I was thinking about how like, so if you're brown, anyways, being brown in America, there's this narrative, right, that came about from whatever, that like black people or brown people, but especially black people in America are lazy. And like, I think any nationality, any race, any class, to be honest with you, can have somebody that is of the lazy sort. Okay. And then even that, like, who am I to judge? Right. But that was something that I felt like bothered me a lot growing up. Um, and that I even started to believe after a while, and especially like growing up heavier too. Like that is like the double narrative of laziness. Oh, you fat too? Or chubby too? You're definitely lazy. Oh, like even like right? So look, if y'all come in here judging me, y'all can get out. But if y'all are willing to be open minded, like I feel like, so I was the girl. So there's a difference between like being like dirty, like filthy, and like messy, right? Like things are just like disorganized, sort of messy, versus like there's some other stuff going on. That's, you know. So I was always like somebody that was just like, and I don't even consider myself disorganized. So it's so interesting how like just even reframing the narrative right there alone like dispels some of the some of the air and the aura of like somebody calling somebody lazy, right? Or like, yeah, because I'm like, I may have been messy, but it made it like, and when people say messy, because growing up, there's nobody who's like, are you really feeling this or is it this? Like, there's nobody doing the psychology work unless you grew up in a space where somebody was doing the psychology work. But there was nobody who was just like, okay, yeah, people are calling you messy, but that's not making you like, that's not calling you dirty. A piece of you assumes that like if they're calling me messy, they're also calling me dirty, which I'm not. Like I can have messy moments. Don't get it twisted. Everybody can. Okay, but like, please. But shit disorganized, having a lot of shit. Like yeah, yeah. That was like a big part of my narrative growing up a little bit, and it wasn't like the worst. I would clean up, things would be get cleaned and be organized, and I go through, like all the things. I feel like I wasn't as messy as what was portrayed sometimes. And just like my room was like not always the most organized, but in my mind, there to me, here's my thing. Here's what I've learned about myself in this, right? One, I'm an artist. Like, I'm an artist. I've been an artist since I was a kid. And I feel like, not to say that all artists are messy, I do not agree with that statement. But there are some artists that, because we have paints, we have pencils, we have markers, we have canvases, we have palettes, we have like, I don't know, paper, hole punchers, thread, ribbon. Like, it's just hella shit. It's just a lot of shit sometimes. And so sometimes I wouldn't always put things away or have a space for them. So it would look a little congested maybe. And but to be honest with you, when you really like, if somebody was really in my space, like my shit had a level of organization, for real. Because I just don't believe in it otherwise. Like, some shit got to go together that needs to go together, because how am I going to manage? But so I can't believe I'm out here exposing myself like this a little bit. But yeah, like I just felt like there was all of these like narratives, going up that made me not feel worthy, um, worthwhile, or valuable in a way, which in certain aspects, like just makes a person want to self sabotage even more, to like almost prove people right about the false shit that they were saying about themselves. Like, for instance, outside of this dynamic, right? I felt like growing up, I was thicker. There was a moment growing up that I didn't feel like I was like, if you look at pictures, I wasn't actually fat. Yeah, I was a thick person, but I wasn't like fat. Do you know what I mean? But because that I've done so much healing work around, but because I had a certain family member, that's how we're going to phrase it. And if you want to know who, you got to probably read my book. But I had a certain family member that would always like make comments, and call me like, oh, she's chubby. Oh, she's fat. Oh, da 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 da. And like, you know, even if you don't believe it at first, that shit starts to sink in. It's like a seed that gets planted, especially in those like quiet moments, when you maybe don't feel the best about yourself and you hear like that repetition of somebody saying some false narrative about you. And then something in you questions, am I that? And then that's even like spreading the seed even more at that moment. Because then you start, am I? Am I? And then you're like, well, maybe I do X, Y, and Z, or maybe I do da da da. And maybe that makes me kind of like that, opening the door even more. It's just like a crazy cycle. It's such a crazy cycle. But so growing up and hearing that family member say it like that, it literally made me want to eat more. I was like, well, if I'm already fat, bruh, if they're already calling me chubby and I don't necessarily feel that way, I'm like, I might as well be able to eat whatever the fuck I want. Like, I might as well. Might as well. I'm already fat. I can't, And in my mind, when you're younger, you don't understand that there's levels to it, right? So as like I did start to eat more, um, and getting to different levels, you know, then it became true. It became true, you know. And it wasn't until like I really was like, I'm gonna work on my health, I'm gonna work on my mind when it comes to my health. Like it's not just about losing the weight. It's not just about working out, going to the gym and freaking eating right. It's about what the freak is going on. And I want to say so bad so many times, but I'm just trying to get flagged. But it's my favorite word, okay? One of my favorite words, because it just has so much like power behind the emphasis of the word sometimes, and sometimes you need that like exclamation point. Okay, so you got to heal the stuff that's going on up here, because that's what's creating the other habits that are driving whatever narrative you either are in that you want to be in, or in that you don't want to be in, whichever one. you know? And like, if there's something that you don't want to be in, then you have to go inside, and figure out some shit. And maybe that means going to therapy. Maybe that means Reiki. Maybe that just means going on a hike every single day. Maybe that means yoga. Maybe it means meditation. Like, I don't know. Maybe it means hypnotherapy. Who am I? Who am I to tell you? Right? But like, the things that like resonate, the things that pique your interest, the thing that says, maybe go there, that's a good seed being planted. That's the good seed being like, maybe this thing has an answer. And then you're like, does it? Let me see. Let me Google the benefits or whatever. Google the benefits or ask AI for the benefits. It tells you these certain things. Could it possibly like help my stress reduction? Maybe it's worth just giving it a go, right? Just that little thought can open up the door a little bit more, or even just opening you up to different ways, right? So maybe the thought is like, uh, yeah, maybe it's acupuncture, but you're like, I don't know about the needles thing. Like, and like, mind you, acupuncture and like Reiki are slightly different. To me, I feel like there's a large overlap, but that's my opinion. Um, But maybe somebody's like really like super anti needles, right? Like can't do it, sorry, can't do it. Pain threshold, nope, nope. But then it opens you up to Googling, because you read acupuncture and then they talk about other body work, and then Reiki comes up and you're like, what's Reiki? And you Google that and you go to Google the benefits, and it's very like non-invasive. It's very just hands-on, and you can do it by distance. Um, and even that, like, it's just like follow the good seeds. Follow the good seeds. Follow the things that resonate. It was 24:20 on the clock, 4:4, right? Which is also an 8. So that was something that was coming up for me. One of the things I wanted to read to you guys were like some of the statements that I'm able to say now today, that I'm not sure if I would have been able to say it in this way some years ago, as I was doing like the beginning stages of this work. But I probably would have said something similar that would have at least opened up the doorway to get me to say what I'm able to say now, right? And so grateful for growth. So grateful for growth, right? Gifts, okay? That is a gift. Grateful for growth. Growth is a gift. Catch that message. So, one of the things that I wrote, right? It's so funny that it's getting warm in here. It was like cold before I started, so I threw on my jacket, and now it's getting a little steamy, but that's that good old Reiki, turns things on. The fire starts to light up. Okay, but so one of the things I had to tell myself, um, okay, let's go with the false narrative first, 2552. Let's go with the false narrative first, and then I'll tell you what I tell myself to dispel the narrative. So one of the false narratives, because I always grew up like as somebody who was more of a booky person, a little nerdy, you know, um, and opinionated and vocal when I wanted to be. Um, there was this characterization of like, oh, you think you think you know it all. Like people used to tell me that for a while, and I used to be like, even in the argument, I would be like, no, I don't. Like, stop saying that shit. Like, I don't. I actually really don't think that I know it all. Like, I don't. I think I know a lot of fucking shit, but I don't think that I know it all. That's like dumb. And then when you're a kid, you really like don't know how much you don't know, right? But I also like knew there was a whole bunch of shit that I didn't know enough of to know that I didn't think that I was a know-it-all. And so even every now and again, I think it flares up because I can be opinionated or because I'm like knowledgeable about some shit. And sometimes you want to help people, but then people get threatened by the help. Weird, but it happens, you know? Um, and we all do it. So grace, okay? Um, so the thing that I was able to tell myself today about this, to dispel that false narrative of, oh, Ashante, she thinks she knows it all. Okay, sure. But see, that's my thing. My like passive aggressive starts to come out. All right, sure. I do. Fucking A. These people get on my nerves sometimes. I'd be irritated sometimes. Like as much as I can be an energy person, very zen, and people really get a lot of the zen out of me. Like they pick up my energy as zen, but like doesn't mean that I don't know the spectrum of energy. I feel like some of the most zen people in the world has probably been some of the most like frustrated at a point, you know? Yeah. So you try not to be that person. You try and choose zen. You try and choose peace. Um, but yeah, and sometimes protection energy though isn't that. So sometimes when you're tired of being called names, right? Sometimes your protection is being passive aggressive. Sometimes, and not to say just go around being passive aggressive people. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that sometimes in certain spaces, you may need to use that as a tactic, as either whether it's self survival or perseverance or whatever. Like sometimes maybe you need that to get to the next moment without actually chopping somebody's. It was so funny. Okay, I'm about to wait. No, let me tell you this first. So the thing that I tell myself to dispel this before I get distracted is I'm too much of a student to feel like I know it all. Like I have always been a student. I've always been a student. I've always been a student. So I'm too much of a student. I'm too much of somebody who wants to learn something. I'm too much of somebody who's curious. I'm too much of a freaking cat to feel like I know it all. Do you know what I mean? And like that's one thing that I love about myself. I love that about myself. Like even watching, I was watching, like I said, I was watching a Korean show, and it was like a period drama. And then even just kind of hearing like what they're talking about, the history of some of the period drama, it made me like Google, like, oh, now I want to know, what dynasty is this? What year was this? How long ago was this? How long was this? Like this dynasty, or this like in reign, like, and then who occupied who at what time. Like, I'm too much of a student, bro. 30 30, I'm too much of a student to think that I know it all, even right before I got on here, right, I already set up the things for the live, and I'm like, God gave me like the thought of like hemoglobin, and then like elephant hemoglobin, and like even that, I'm like, okay, well, let me Google what's the difference between elephant hemoglobin, or like what is it that I'm supposed to learn by Googling elephant hemoglobin? Because I never know what message God is really trying to get to me until I'm making sure that I'm looking for it, or able to receive. So I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna, look and read the thing. Did you know? And this is fun fact of the day, right? Welcome to the Shanti's classroom. Fun fact of the day: did you know that elephants have 65 gallons of blood in their body? 65 gallons. Like, those like gallon things, when people carry around gallons, 65 of those. But of course, it's an elephant, but Jesus Christ, that's amazing. Um, so, yeah, I'm too much of a student to feel like I know it all. And people are going to act like that, and people are going to tell me, or like, project onto me, oh, you just think you know it all. Okay. No, I don't. I don't. But maybe in this particular subject, maybe I've studied. Maybe I've done some reading. And even in even knowing that I've done studying or reading, whether it be like form, or whether it be like I've actually like read tons of books about this shit, like even in any of those cases or any spectrum in between, I would still be like, I could be wrong. Like, and there's more information out there. And maybe I don't have access to something that is like beyond that too. Like, I'm smart enough to know that I don't know it all. How about that? I'm smart enough to know that I don't know it all. Okay, moving on. 3303. False narrative number two. This is going back to like the cleaning messy part, right? And this is what I had to learn about myself too. And this took a little bit longer. This one took a little bit longer than the whole know it all comment. Was I like organizing and cleaning enough to know that I'm not someone who just likes to be messy. Like, generally, certain things are symptoms of other things. Or if things are like in a disarray, it's usually symptomatic of something else that's going on. So, whether it be you don't have a place for things, whether it be maybe you just have a lot of other shit on your to-do plate. And so cleaning is not number one. Maybe it's just showing up for work every day and making sure you like wash your ass, because sometimes life be like that. Sometimes it's just making sure that you show up for work and you're able to wash your ass in between, you know, and maybe feed yourself, you know. So, but outside of that, I'm like, there's a piece of, like, in the job that I've done, the jobs and other works that I do, in life, and just how there's certain things. I like to organize certain things. Like, I can be very OCD. I can be very OCD. Ask anybody that worked with me as when I was a skating school director. I'm very OCD. I'm very particular. I'm very like, I know who sat at my desk. I know, like, if somebody freaking moved a pen, sort of thing. you know. Like, and even in like my house, like, or not my house, but like my, like having a space that's maybe like a little off, girl, if there is something that like really moved to another spot on the table, I would be like, did I actually move that there? And like I could, yeah. Anyways, I'm a little too OCD, right? To to actually be considered like a messy person. I just need to make time, for cleaning up and make a space for everything. And also knowing what kind of um, person you are. So the reason why I brought up the whole artist thing earlier was that I did, learn from, somebody wrote a book, I guess. I didn't read the book. I just saw a clip and I said, "Oh, this makes so much sense." And I did a little Google search and I said, "Oh, it still makes so much sense." Where they characterize like people's organization style as like you're a ladybug or a caterpillar or something like that, right? Or a butterfly. And I think she called this one a butterfly, but it was like you kind of need to see everything. Like I don't actually thrive with having certain things hidden, like having cupboards and whatever, and like closing cupboards. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. But like when it comes to like my art stuff, sometimes, um, yeah, if everything is hidden and I can't see it, like tucked away or in things that aren't clear, like one, I would forget I have it. Two, I wouldn't ever use it. Three, it would also make me sad because it makes my life a little duller, right? If everything is like white or gray or whatever, like I'm just like meh. Um, but didn't you have to learn yourself enough to know like this space needs to be like this. Like I have my girl. I'm one of those people who will spend time organizing my closet to where it's like, okay, well, all my hangers face a certain way. I will organize like the tops all together by the weights and maybe even by the colors on top of that. Like, I'm not like really. And then there was a piece of me even that because of this whole belief of like, or the false belief of being like, oh, you're a messy girl, messy girl, messy girl. Um, I told myself that I didn't actually like cleaning. I'm like, oh, it makes it, then you start to create this narrative like it's too laborious. Like, I hate cleaning. I hate cleaning. Actually, I don't. I actually really love sweeping my floors. Even though I don't want to do it all the freaking time, I actually will do it often enough. And it gives me peace. There's a level of it, it gives me peace. I actually don't mind washing dishes. Sometimes I will wash dishes instead of putting them in the dishwasher just because I want the moment of meditation. Like, what? I keep my bathroom pretty clean all the time. Like, unless I know I'm like in my own space and nobody's coming up in here, like, it may get like a little 3 day, 4 day, relaxation on the cleaning. But yeah, no. If it's like people are coming or I'm gonna have somebody over or whatnot, like my bathroom's always clean. And that's why it's not even like that big of a hassle to clean my bathroom because I keep it clean consistently enough like to where it's easy to clean some more. Do you know what I mean? So I had to like get to understand that part of me because for so long I had forgotten or just didn't recognize value, didn't recognize um, the truth that was already staring at me in my face. But because I had believed, it's almost like, how people are like, you got to take off those rose colored glasses, right? To me, I feel like these false narratives are, I don't know, some like stinky salts that's stuck to your nose. Do you know what I mean? And it's like until somebody removes it from in front of your nose, or you move it from in front of your nose, you start to think that the whole world stinks. Until you're like, oh, actually, oh, there is fresh air readily available to me. That's such a weird analogy, God, but that's what came out. So if that resonates, I'm glad. Okay. But yeah, the the truth of the matter is, the truth of the matter is, I like organizing and cleaning too much or enough, right? And not too much, right? I like organizing and cleaning enough to know that I'm not just someone who likes to be messy. I like organizing and cleaning. I'm trying to like clean even up how I'm saying this right now. I'm like, oh, maybe there's a better way I could say this. I like organizing and cleaning enough to know who I am as a clean person. I don't know how I want to change this statement. Ugh. Anyways, yeah, to know that I'm not someone who just likes to be messy. That's good. I like organizing and cleaning enough to know I'm not just someone who just likes to be messy. If I'm messy, it's usually like literally symptomatic. I'm busy. I'm literally going from competition, test sessions, freaking practices, family stuff. Like if I'm running around, this shit is gonna get a little disorganized and messy AF. But that's like human and normal, right? Unless I'm hiring somebody, a house cleaner, to make sure that this shit is organized, that's maybe what it has to be for a moment, okay? Um, and giving myself and other people grace for that, you know. Anywho, even some of like the neatest people sometimes, like I went over to my friend's house um a little bit ago and gave them Reiki, and they were like, oh, they were like, I'm sorry for this mess. And I'm like, girl, first of all, it really wasn't messy. Like maybe it could have just been like swept up or whatever, dusted a little bit. But in terms of like, they didn't have that much stuff out, you know. She was like, everything's kind of hidden. I was like, well, you didn't have to tell me that. But yeah, I feel like we always have. I think it's interesting how often, if people aren't like super, super clean people, like everything is like maybe not, what is it? Like a showroom. There you go. Showroom. And if it's not looking like a showroom, right? Then we feel like we have to apologize for the state of what it looks like. Oh, I'm sorry for my, or I have a shoe out of place. Like this is, what if we didn't spend all of this time being so unnecessarily apologetic or unnecessarily harsh on ourselves? Like how much more time would we be allotted in our day, in our day-to-day activities, if we didn't like spiral through these judgments and misconceptions of ourselves? I wonder. So the last misconception that I wanted to get back to was the whole lazy comment, right? And I had to tell myself I like working, producing, and being of service too much to be considered lazy. And that is the one of the big, girl, when I tell you, that's big facts. Big facts. There's something that happens with these false narratives when you start to spit big facts. They just get small. They just get nullified. They just become insolent. Okay, God. Sure, let's use that word. I wouldn't have picked that. Why did we pick that word? Anyways, um, they become insolent. Let me look, because now I'm curious. Insolent. Showing rude and arrogant lack of respect. Well, that's what they are. Like those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts and those false narratives, they're literally just insolent. They're just like disrespectful AF. And they shouldn't live in your space or be in your space. And maybe that's where you need to draw your boundaries. And 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 the boundaries with yourself. One, the reason why I did bring grace into the picture is that you need to, in the healing process of this, giving grace to those people, right? Whether it be your community, whether it be, I don't know, teachers who like maybe told you were dumb, you know? Um, like, maybe it was like, I don't know, that like, I don't know, somebody who said you would never amount to anything. Like you have to shut that shit up and draw boundaries and be like, nah, that's not okay. That's not okay. That's not okay. And it goes back to that old statement of like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. And that means if that person or that thought or those community people don't have not anything nice to say, they ain't really saying shit at all. That's the like, they ain't saying shit. Are y'all hearing me in the back? They ain't saying shit. Okay. So yeah. When you spit big facts, these like false narratives gotta just dissipate. And they just are like they're nothing at that point. But I like working, I like producing, and I like being of service too much to be considered lazy. Like, no matter how much money I can imagine myself having, I know that at some point, um, I'm always going to still be doing something. I'm always going to be one trying to be like teach, help heal, offer services. Like, I'm always going to be just trying to do something. Whether it's creating flower arrangements, whether it's making cakes, whether it's like, I don't know, painting up a storm, whether it's singing a freaking song, whether it's just showing up to this YouTube. Girl, I would be doing something. So lazy where, bitch? Lazy where? Girl. Yeah. I feel like those are those moments where you got to get rude back. I think the word insolent came up because to me, I feel like not only telling yourself what's right? Like telling yourself the truth. But sometimes if somebody is being like real disrespectful, you kind of got to get a little disrespectful with it and tell it to shut the fuck up and go somewhere else and sit the fuck down. And or maybe even ask, and if you want to have a heart with it, you can ask, what the fuck is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Do you need help? Is this how you feel about yourself? Look, that's me. Is this how you feel about yourself? Oh my god. So, um, I wanted to share that with you guys. If there's any like false narratives that you feel like coming up or that you're even telling yourself, and that's the thing too. So, giving grace to these people because so going back to that family member that used to say whatever about me, right? I actually have a good relationship with that family member now. Um, there was a long period of time where I felt like I didn't understand them. There was a long period of time that I was kind of irritated AF with them, um, and blame them. And there was a certain point where I learned that, and maybe it was just, in the studying of psychology or just like doing meditations and healing work too, where, and having conversations, I ended up having a conversation with them that kind of like alerted me to why they would even say such thing to me anyways. And that's because people used to say things like that to them, you know, and they felt some type of way about themselves gaining, weight from when they were a younger person. And it became like a projection thing. So in that space, I was able to be like, all right, bet. Like, It's not even about me. It's not even about me. So me being mad at you about it is actually pointless. It's actually now it's now it's a waste. I think sometimes it can give it can provide sufficient fuel, but once you like gotten the fuel you need to get strong enough to tell yourself the truth, then it's time to get to a place of like forgiveness and healing and grace. And so, whether it be, like I said, somebody else that it came from, or whether it be something that you started to repeat to yourself because it came from somewhere else, too. And like maybe we didn't know where it came from, right? Just growing up, we would just hear all this thing, or, you're gonna forever be broke, or you're gonna, be a teenage mom, or like whatever the fuck, and maybe you were. Maybe somebody said something that did become true, but it doesn't make you less of a valuable person, number one. Number two, maybe that's your destiny, duh. And fuck them. Who are they to know? And they need to mind theirs. How about they need to mind their destiny, okay? Versus worrying about yours, okay? I don't know why I'm sassy. I think I know why I'm sassy. I am on my cycle, so that may be why I'm a little spice today. Little spice. Um, so you gotta let go of those narratives, bro. Certain things are just no longer serving you. Like, and that's the thing that I was probably thinking that was interesting, because my kitchen was getting a little messy over the last couple of days, and today was one of those days where it's like, okay, once I was off of work, I actually have time and like more energy to take care of certain things. And so now I'm like, and it doesn't bother me to do it. Like, it doesn't bother me to do it. Maybe I don't want to spend an hour and a half doing it, but like, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I can. I'm grateful that I have the ability. Like, I'm good over here. Um, but yeah, I needed the time and the space. Like, maybe I didn't have it yesterday, but those thoughts started to creep in. Like yesterday, it's like, you're messy. Like, those thoughts started to come back. And I had to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Settle down, bro. Settle down. Like, because remember, we already know that's just not true. It's not true. And sometimes you're just tired too. That's what I was going to get into. That was like my other note. Uh, there's always a to-do list. Number one, there's always a to-do list. And especially if you like run your own business or anything like that, like you definitely, your laundry list of to-dos never go away. It just like keeps going. You check things off and more things get back on. And they just cycle. Some things cycle. If you're ordering inventory for something, you don't just order it once and you're done forever. You maybe need to order inventory every other month. But that, but that means you got to check your inventory every other month too before you do that. Then you got to do the purchasing order or call the people. Like, it's like there's all these tasks. There's all these tasks. So I feel like if rest is coming up for you, if you feel like you need rest, like rest. Because to me, I feel like we've gotten to a point where we're like, oh, we don't rest. We'll rest when we're dead. No, no, no. I've been a part of the team of Burnout Team Central, okay, 1,000 times over, and I'm over it, okay? Like, I'm over it. It was interesting thinking about burnout. This one girl, I saw a video the other day about this nurse who was going for a job interview, and I guess she used to be a traveling nurse, and she was trying to look for like just something else that wasn't a traveling nurse. And she told the person who was interviewing her, like, I'm just looking for a better balance, and I'm not trying to be burnt out. And the interviewer was like, you're not trying to be burnt out? Like, pretty much like, This, like being a nurse, period, like you're gonna be burned out. You're gonna have to work this, and you're gonna have to do this, and you're gonna have to do this. And not to say that that's not true, and but this person has been a nurse for over 10 years. She knows what comes with the lay of the land. But she was saying that why is it triggering that I want a level of self care for like myself, and I feel like that's something so interesting to me that that would happen. Mm, I'm not surprised, but just that we've become these people that it's like, yeah, no, let's like work to death, work ourselves to death. No, like bump you, like go suck it. Like all honesty, all honesty. I don't think that that's like. I think that there's certain things that people are willing when people are willing to give their heart to something, when people are willing to, go the extra mile, you know, um, that has to be at like a free will. To me, I just feel like, and sometimes we know when we can give more. We know when, oh, it's high season and you got to show up. And it's just, it is what it's going to be. It's busy season. We're going to do what it's going to do. But then, even in that, if you have a busy season, you know when there's a non busy season. And so then it becomes important for you, one, to recognize the seasons, then two, making sure that you get the rest in the rest season. But a lot of times we can get into these spaces, and I say we because I've been there, and I say we because maybe you've been there, and that's why we're in this video together right now. But where it's like in those rest moments, we feel guilty for resting. So then we put something else on our plate, and then we're like tired and we're feeling haggard and we're feeling like, what? Like, I can't. It's like literally the best thing that we can do for ourselves is rest. And I've started to learn that about myself some time ago, but I'm starting to respect that about myself a little bit more now, where it's like, okay, if I'm tired, like actually get rest. And like the other days, there were some other days in this week that I felt like I was tired. And then as soon as I was like done being tired, like if I actually let myself rest, then I would get energized. I had energy to do certain things. And I would be like, oh my God. Again, it'd be like those creeping in thoughts. When I feel like I need rest, those thoughts of like, oh, I must be lazy. I must be lazy because I need rest. Like that's what was creeping in. That's why I had to tell myself this shit this week. That's why I had to auto correct. Like I had to course correct. I had to course correct because when I needed rest, because my cycle was getting ready to start and I wasn't like, I knew it was coming ish, but sometimes you don't know what you need what days, right? And so I was feeling guilty that I wanted to just like lay down. Like it was like, okay, I already got rest yesterday, but I still feel like I need to like lay down and rest today. But I feel guilty because now it's day 2 and I should be energized by now, right? Like WTF. If I'm not, then let myself rest. So I did. So I did. And now today I had energy. I had so much more energy today. You know, I came on here. I didn't have that much energy when I first got on this um, video phone. um, but in terms of like work, I had energy. When I went to the ice rink earlier, I had energy. Cleaning up, I felt like I had energy, even just to like be up and doing this now. Um, is like I wouldn't have been able to do this if I didn't allow myself a level of rest the other day. And I have been wanting to get back on camera and like do a video since Tuesday, but my spirit was just like, ooh, you don't have it in you. Like you don't, there's not enough energy to go to stretch in that direction. You need to reserve your energy for this. And there, even that, it was like certain cooking things. I was like, okay, this week is not that. Like some days, Today I just can't cook. I'm down to cook most days or some days or whatever. Who knows your life? But some days you're like, nah, I just can't today. Like I can't. And I felt like I was having a hard time with that a little bit earlier this week when it came to showing up for work because I was having like one of the days was a really hard day and I was like, how can I like show up, and I didn't want to cancel any of my day, and not just because of the whole money situation, even though that does play a factor in the decision making for that day, because it's one of my like busier days. Um, but I actually was grateful that I did because there's a level of, dedication or discipline, or duty, you know, that filled me. Like, I didn't necessarily want to be at the rink. I didn't necessarily have the capacity to, you know, be the most bubbliest person in the world, but I had the capacity to um, still help somebody grow and learn more in their skating skills that day that made like big movements. Um, and they ended up bringing a light to me that I didn't know I was going to necessarily get from them because I wasn't sure where I was going to get it from that day at all. But me going and showing up for work that day, both times, really offered me an extra level of peace that I needed for that day. Um, but even in between that, like I went to work. When I came home, I just like rested. And then I went back to work. And then after that, I came home and I rested. And the next day, I rested. you know. But then it started like the guilt starts, the guilt thoughts started to seep in, you know. And just I needed to like dispel it and tell it to go the fuck away because I'm not a lazy person, honestly, you know. I'm very proactive. I'm very much of service. I very much like to help people. Um, so, like, if I need rest, maybe it's just because I need rest and be okay with that. So that's one of the messages for this week. We're at the 1 hour mark. I think I just have one more topic. Excuse me. I think I have one more topic. And maybe this is just my gratitude portion of the night. I just wanted to be extra grateful for, the divine and helping me be the person that I am and helping me to be in the right space at the right time and to attract, the people who need my assistance in whatever capacity that is. And I really felt that at the rink today, um, because I hadn't been on like Saturday classes like that for a minute. And, and, but even I think I talked about this a few weeks ago on the video where I was like, well, obviously somebody needs me, right? Like, if this is something that I've agreed to and this is what's actually about to happen, apparently I'm going there for a reason. Like somebody on Saturday needs me, and maybe a more than just one, right? And last week when I was there, because I wasn't teaching classes, I was just helping out last week because it was the last week of that series. So I was helping test and all that stuff. But even that, I saw some girls on the ice that looked like me, and I was glad to be there and be a representative of somebody that looks like them. And I was like, even that alone, presence. being in the room does something else to the psyche, because it does something else to the psyche. Then you're like, oh, wait, I'm not alone. There's somebody who looks like me. Yep, it's me. That's me. Um, and so today, the first class that I had, there was a piece of me that I was like, oh yeah, they needed me. And to me, it was just, I had tested that class last week and like almost nobody passed. Um, and so I was grateful to be put on the class so that I could work with them and do my magic. Hopefully, hopefully, we'll see by the end of the series. We'll see by the end of the series. Um, that was something I was going to talk about too. So today, anyways, the class, their arms are all like flailing around. I said, they allow y'all to just be out here looking like that? No wonder why you couldn't pass. And then it's so interesting too, because half the class was like, okay, supposed to be in this level. And then the other half of the class, to me, was supposed to be at least in the level before. And because they didn't know some of the basics from the level before. And I was like, that's the thing that's supposed to, that's the reason that we split this level into two parts. Because it is a 1-part level, but we at this rink split this level into 2 parts. One, because people can get stuck on this level and another level for a long time, which can be discouraging. So we split it up to make it a little bit more palpable. You know, maybe only one series in that, and maybe only one series in another. But if there are things from the first class isn't great, and somehow they manage to get into the other class, they're really going to be stuck. So, anyways, I got a little bit of work cut out for me. I'm not gonna lie, but I know that I didn't have enough space on the ice, and next week I'm just gonna have to make myself a little bit more space, and that's because I feel like these kids need a little bit more of a better opportunity. What we're asking them to learn how to do backward crossovers, where they're crossing over their feet backwards, like. But then I have like tiny girl, barely space to make a actual circle where these kids can fit on. I can't even make 2 even sized circle in this small ass space I was given. You know what I mean? So to next week, I think because of how I saw the layout of the ice, I can maybe bump out some space, you know? Um, because yeah, that's what I wanna do. That was the last video. That was the last video. Oh, that's the song. No, no, no. That wasn't the last video, but that's the song that I wanted to put on here. Isn't that a different song? We're gonna have to look that up. That's for a later moment. That's for a later moment. But anyways, so that class was cool. But there's definitely like, yeah, a couple of people in that. Well, no, I like all of them. All of them. I'm like, oh yeah, y'all, yeah, we supposed to do some work together, and like for different reasons. Different reasons. Sometimes I feel like people need my like structure, discipline. I think other people just need like my knowledge and information. Other people need my personality. You know, like you never know what people need, but I feel like all of them in there need something from me, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be there. Um, but that one was like, oh yeah, we clearly got some work to do, and even that. So I'm teaching, but then at the same time, now they've been having like more people shadowing me, like TAs shadowing me. Um, which is cool because they get to learn. But it also makes me more mindful of like, you know, you got to make sure that you're saying things in the right way for both, because now I'm not just instructing the kids to understand skating. I'm instructing kids to understand skating and coaches or skaters who are becoming coaches learning how to help them, kind of develop their own self, whether it's their personality, whether it's how to explain certain things, whether it's how to break things down, or what tools and tips that I use, or what language that I use, because everybody can provide different things and skills, right? Um, and the really cool thing I think about shadowing somebody else too, especially somebody who has experience, or maybe it, I'm really trying not to toot my own horn. I'm really trying to be humble, but I feel like I have to speak so highly of myself today for whatever reason. But I just feel like for me personally, I try and bring out what different people need. I feel like some of these some coaches can be very like hands off. They can be very much like they don't care one whether even the skater is like actually learning what they're supposed to learn in the class, which is so unfortunate and so sad in any scenario. But then on top of that, sometimes I don't think people are looking into the person that much sometimes. So even one of the girls today, she came in, and she had such a cool name. I just don't want to share it because I'm trying to like keep her privacy. Such a cool name. I had never come across somebody who had that name, but it's like a word that we use for another word that we would use that's kind of like Nirvana, right? But anyways, um, she came to the class a little bit late, and she was just a little bit more like into herself, and like we were doing certain exercises and everybody was starting to kind of get used to my energy. All the other girls were like kind of picking up, but this one, she was like picking up some, like in her energy, and but she was being like timid. But to me, I just was like, you're too. She was too strong. You're too strong of a person, girlfriend. I could tell. I could tell by how you look. You're too strong of a person to be over here smalling me. Come on, girl. I said, what's going on? And I was like, well, maybe. I was like, is it just today? Because sometimes it can just be a day. Like I'm like, shit, I'm on my period. Shit, who knows? She could be even just starting hers for the first time ever in her life. Like she was kind of around this age, like the age of that, and so, and maybe she doesn't know why she's feeling that way too, because that's a whole nother ship to navigate. Okay. But I was, I kind of was just like trying to help, pull herself out of it. And, I felt like she was going there a little bit, but then I also saw her starting to want to close up again. So I was just like, I'm going to let it be, because I was wondering if like, it seemed to me, and even though I was just meeting her, it just seemed out of character. I was like, is this how you normally are? So, um, and not to say that anything is wrong with her being meekish, but I just, first of all, as a coach, I'm here to pull out strength from these skaters. Okay. Hard working, graceful, beautiful, talented, skillful, you know, that can skate to standard and above skaters. That's my job. So I'm here to push people. And I feel like sometimes other coaches can forget that. Like, we're not just teachers, we're also personal trainers. So we have to do both. Even when we're teaching group classes that we may not be getting paid our high rate of private lessons. It doesn't matter. They're here to get anyways. Let me calm down, because if I get to talking about what other coaches do compared to how I believe in carrying myself as a coach, we could be here for a long time. So I definitely felt like, people needed me today. And even this other girl, she started to cry in the class towards the end. And so had her calm down and all that stuff, but talking her through it, because there was nothing actually like super wrong with her. She was just, her feelings was a little hurt by her own feelings, you know. Um, when you think you got something like that and you don't really got something like that and you don't understand why you don't got nothing like something like that. So your ego is kind of going through that dance. And so she was having a moment and like, helping her navigate that, but just being like mindful and open to that. And these coaches also seeing and witnessing how you handle that. Like if there is a girl skating on the ice, you don't need to make a big deal about it. You don't need to be like, call her out in front of the whole class. And you also don't need to keep her isolated from the whole class either. So after like letting like us to like have a moment where we could talk so I could see what was going on. Because at first I thought, because I had her do like a stretch on the wall, but I was so and I she was doing a stretch on the wall and like so I was like, did you pull something? Did like did I ask for too much? But it didn't feel like that. But I was like, did I? Look, this is my first time meeting you, girl. So let me know. But she wasn't hurt. She wasn't hurt physically by the stretch or anything like that. It was just, you know, going through her feelings. And so in that time, because I had two TAs, it was so funny. it, yeah. I had two TAs with me, and I only really had like four students, two TAs, so it was three instructors and four students. But in that time, I had the two TAs like lead, and they're at different levels of TAing. One has been teaching for a bit, and one is like really like green, like and teenage green, you know. So I had them like take the other skaters and to do some like other laps real quick. And then after like I realized that she was okay and we were trying to work through it a little bit more and we only had like a little bit of time left in the class, I was just like, well, go ahead and like, rejoin the class. Like you're good. Breathe, like you're good. Like, and I don't want the last thing you do on the ice be your tears. Like at least go ahead and try it again, you know? So all a day's work is what it feels like. And so here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think God be like, sometimes I just have to laugh, right? And what did I write it in the thing? I called it like purposeful something. Purposeful moments, I think is what I said. I got off the ice and I'm like taking my skates off and a coworker of mine that like he used to work there years ago and then he came back recently. And I've like, we've said hi and like, hey, how you doing? But we've been kind of in passing, um, which I thought we were gonna have a little bit more of that. But he like came and like sat down, and it was so funny because it was like, oh, come in. It was one of those like, come and sit in my office because as soon as he sat down, it was like, oh, how's things going? And I was like, oh, things are good. I'm like good. I was in good spirits today, so I'm just like, cool. Work. Got to clean my house all the time. Now that I live myself, which is different than what it used to be before. When I saw him last, which was like, or really hung out with him last, which was like 3 years ago or something like that. So I told him about that. And I'm like, how's it going with you? And when I tell you, it went from like, oh, things are good to like, let me tell you what's really going on in my insides. And like, it went into like therapy session low key, you know? And it's, I'm saying that it was funny only because I think God be having jokes type it's funny. But not that that person like sharing his stuff was like funny. I just thought like God be so funny. Cause I'm over here thinking like, oh, I'm about to run out the rink. I'm just about to take my skates off and get to running. And I said, oh no, we're dropping in. We're here. Cool. It was like, oh, God was like, oh, you want to do Reiki too? We got you right here. And I said, bet. So we did that. we did that and had like I sat with him for a while, and had a conversation, and and I just offered my help, offered, the a little advice here and there without trying to overstep, obviously, and then offering my help as somebody that does do Reiki. Um, so yeah, it was that to me. Like I was just like grateful. To me, I was just like grateful, and I was like pleasantly surprised. And I think it's funny how often that happens to me too, where it's just like, oh, you think that you're just like gonna la la la. That's why sometimes when I do want to be to myself, when I want to be in my little hermit shell, sometimes I have to respect that. Because when I'm not in my hermit shell, I'm literally like a piece of me is making myself or open to helping people, or like, yeah, at a drop of a hat, in a way. Um, and that's really cool, but it can be tiresome and can drain you when you're not, you know, sufficiently energized. um, but I had the energy today, and again, I think even in that, if I didn't rest the way that I did yesterday, if I would have guilt tripped myself out of allowing myself to rest and just lay and like watch my little Korean show yesterday, I don't know if I would have had the capacity for any of that shit today. And any of that shit meaning like all of my life. No, I'm just kidding. Any of like, just the work, But I was like, oh, it becomes light work. It becomes light work. And not just like light, like light work, but it becomes light in nature, like lightweight, you know? Um, so yeah, to me that was like the gifts part of it too. I'm grateful that I have gifts that I can offer, and whether that's just a listening ear for some moments, grateful. So yeah, if you're looking for help, if you need a listening ear, or if you want some Reiki, shout out to your girl, or find somebody else that's, whether they're in your area or whether you just resonate with somebody or have been recommended or referred to by somebody else to somebody else. Like, I just want you to get healing. Um, and find a level of peace, and definitely find levels of joy, especially if that either one of those things have been feeling so far away from you, um, for a while. I wanted to say, oh, the last thing that I had written on here that I hadn't like spoke to was just looking for better conditions. So that was just a phrase that came up as I was like still getting my video stuff together, looking for better conditions, and it instantly made me think of, okay, spirit, it instantly made me think of like flying, like when you're on a plane and say you hit a little bit of turbulence, but you're like looking for better conditions, or even like you don't take the plane up because you're waiting for the better conditions of the airspace, because maybe it's like storming or whatever and it's not time for it to take off. Like that to me, that, thank you, God. Thank you, God. You're so cool. God, you're so cool. Looking for better conditions. That is essentially what rest is doing. The rest is supposed to give you some sort of capacity to be in a better condition to be able to do the work. Looking for better conditions. I can't even. God, you just did that. Um, so get rest. If your body is telling you rest, rest. If your body is telling you to get up and work and that you really feel like you have the energy to get up and work, go get up and work. If the insides are telling you and you have energy to go and clean, like go and clean. You know, the other day I was like here and I didn't feel like doing some of the cleaning stuff that I needed to do, but I knew I would have been more irritated with the fact of if I wait for this to go until tomorrow, it's going to be in worse conditions. It's going to be in worse condition than what it is now, and it's going to make me an angrier person to some level, to some extent, or just like more unsatisfied at that moment in time. So instead of like overly giving into this rest, I'm going to allow myself to rest in 20 minutes after I take care of some of this stuff that's on my list that's going to set me up for better conditions tomorrow. So listen to what you need. Listen to what you need from your spirit. If your spirit earlier this week, and if you didn't catch the video I made earlier this week about you're your own or knowing your own medicine, but you are your own medicine is a good statement too. But knowing what medicine you need, like you need to go and watch it. But it's really about, you know, really tapping into yourself and making sure that you're listening to that higher calling, because those are the things that's going to resonate more. It's going to sound louder, or like it's just going to sit deeper. Whether it sounds louder or sits deeper, like that's what you want to go towards, you know? And if it makes you feel good, if it makes you feel good, to feel good is to feel God. And if it makes you feel like trash, then it's not what you need. But if it makes you feel good, if it gives you peace, some contentment, it, even the thought of it giving you peace gives you peace, then go that direction. Go that direction. I implore you. Go that direction, please. Um, so yeah, thank you, Spirit. I really think that that's all right now. 1:27:22 on the clock. We got 10:02 over there. 10:03 on my computer. But maybe those resonated. If you're here, if you watch this video, I really hope that you drop a like. I really hope that you share. I really hope that a lot of this resonated. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was beneficial. I hope it kept you entertained too, to some extent. And I hope that we're all better off because of it. And I ask this in the divine greatest name. Root to root, R to heart, crown to crown, I give thanks. Have a blessed night. Have a blessed day whenever you're watching this. Blessed weekend, a blessed week, whenever you're watching this. Just be blessed. I will see you next time. I hope to be here soon. Share so that we can get out to more people. I love y'all. Bye. Oh, you don't even want to end, huh? That's normal. Okay, so I pressed not yet because maybe I'm not supposed to go yet. Or I am. Am I? I think the name of that video was I Got What You Want. I got what you want. I got what you need. Drink water. That was one of the statements I wanted to make earlier. You'll be amazed what a little water can do, right? Whether it's using some water to wipe down some stuff, Okay, or drinking some water. Like you'll be amazed at what a little water can do. And go buy some water. That was my message for my friend today. I said, look, in the meantime and in between time, go in nature. Go in nature. Go for a walk. Go be by water. Go in nature. Go for a walk. Be by water. Just do some of those things. Do some of those things to help you pull out of yourself. Be kind. Stay wise. Wise up, my friend. I don't know. I feel like that's it, God. Thank you. Thank you. I think it was the drink water message. So I'll see y'all later. All right. For real this time. Bye.